What's up, Giants fans? What's up, Rush family? Post-draft episode of New York Giants Rush. I got Spartan Mike, the little young whippersnapper, on here with me tonight. Spartan, how we doing, man?
Doing all right, man. Just about to serve the old classic. You know the deal. I'm doing all right. Listen, I'm really doing all right because I just got back from the draft, and I probably had that was one of the greatest football experiences of my life. First of all, shout out to the city of Detroit. They absolutely crushed it. They did a very good job of hosting it. I talked to a lot of people that had never been to Detroit before, haven't been in over 15 years, and they were like, wow, they did a great job. This looks awesome. Super entertaining. It was very easy to get beer if you needed it. And I was fortunate enough. I won't say exactly how, but I was fortunate enough to get up into the draft theater, which is reserved for by only a few Giants fans. 4 Giants fans. You can't buy tickets, and it's given by the organization. But I had a leeway there, and the person who helped me out, forever grateful to you. And it was just unbelievable being that close. Loved getting the New York Giants Rush logo on ESPN. I know Craig is still on Cloud9 as well. And Malik Neighbors coming down and dapping everybody up in the stands after he got picked was a very surreal experience. So anybody, listen to me. If the draft is ever near you, go. It's free. Go out, take your kids. It's an enjoyable event. Trust me, it was very fun.
Awesome, man. That's great. Listen, I'm going to say I'm a little bit jealous. So if I go to a draft, I'm going to have to get some stilts because I think it helps to be as tall as you are to get his notice and get those perks, man. I'm convinced of it. So I'm going to go out there with stilts, and I'm going to make sure I'm real tall to get on.
Absolutely, man. You get that Abe Lincoln hookup or the guy who's juggling or whatever. You just be that guy and throw the juggling bowling bins away and just watch.
I know. That's awesome, man. So I know Craig's going to be on later. We got a great show planned. We got Ryan Dunleavy coming on. So, Craig left us kind of in charge until he gets on. So again, another risk he's taken, but we're going to take over and have some fun tonight. What do you say, Spartan?
Let's do it, man. I'm excited. We got lots to hash out.
We do. I know Ryan's going to be talking about, post-draft and all that. So that'll be good to get that insight right after the draft from a reporter there, man. So I'm excited to have Ryan on. We know he always does a good job. So first thing I want to kind of talk about, like you and I were on Twitter a lot today. So first thing let's talk about that Adam Schefter report that said that the Giants were interested in Joel, but then when the Chargers took him, they pivoted to Malik Neighbors. Tell me your thoughts on, first of all, that report, and then kind of just the whole Schefter thing there. What's your thoughts there, man?
When I see a group of insiders saying the same thing, like May, for example, the Giants are trying to trade up for May. Yep. I believe that. There's a sufficient amount of people that are saying it. I definitely believe that. Joe Alt, I do not believe that. The reason being is talking to some people at the draft, because some insiders, if you will.
Yep.
When I was, and trust me, I don't regularly have insiders, but I was fortunate enough to kind of be near them during the draft. It was very clear to me that number 1 was Neighbors and number 2 was Adunze before the draft, before the Giants pick, right? Okay. So I don't think there was any sense that the Giants were going to go for Joe Alt, and I don't think it would make any sense for the Giants to go for Joe Alt. The offensive line's struggling, but that's why they brought Illuminer in. We already have that dude. Right, yep. The swing tackle. You can move Neal around. The other thing is Joe Alt would have to move to right tackle, and so that didn't really make a lot of sense. So I tend to find that Schefter's report is BS. How do you feel about it? I mean, were you thinking the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, we are on this one because I think that, number one, Schefter didn't say anything about this before the draft, right? Like all of a sudden now he's coming out after the draft. And I also feel like it's a little bit of a smokescreen so that they keep it from people thinking that they were really going after a quarterback because they didn't get who they wanted. And now you have these returning quarterbacks who are like, well, they didn't really want me. They tried to replace me. So let's kind of put that out there. So it's like, takes the pressure off if they were going after a quarterback. But I don't believe for a second they were going after Joel. I believe, and you look at all the mocks too, like all the mock drafts, if you believe in that, I think almost every but a couple had Neighbors as the pick. So the word was out. They were in Neighbors, right? When you look at it, hindsight 2020. Yeah, I don't know why Schefter put that out there, and he's normally good, but this one I can't buy.
This one was wrong. This is wrong. And even guys of that magnitude, I feel like they swing bats a lot of the times, right? I mean, sometimes, it's obvious they have the right information, but in this case, that just wasn't it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, everybody on Twitter, Giants Twitter rolled with it and was like, "Oh man, they went after
management, incompetent this, that." It gets sickening because there's things that you should. I feel like Giants fans can legitimately be frustrated with, but don't get mad at the things that clearly never happened. Don't get involved in that.
Yeah, exactly. So I know we're gonna try a little something here in a couple minutes, a little new segment we're gonna kind of work out for you guys here, so you guys can chime in, give your thoughts. But we're tentatively going with the get off my lawn versus the participation trophies. So Spartan and I, in a few minutes, are going to go a little back and forth over a topic that was pretty big on Twitter today. But the other thing, Spartan, let me ask you: was there anything you, other than what we're going to do here in a couple minutes? Was there anything else on Twitter that kind of stood out to you today that you saw post-draft information?
Not today that in my opinion is worth it, but what we're about to get into, maybe if we have some time before Ryan and Craig come on, let's talk about the quarterback situation a little bit in terms of a lot of fans wish they saw a quarterback. Let's talk about how we were thinking about it. Does that sound good?
Cool. Yeah, that sounds great. So we'll get this started, guys, and in the comment section, jump in, put points in, but we're going to talk
about me. Go ahead.
Right, get on me.
Make fun of Craig. He's not here yet, guys.
Right. I guess I don't want to make fun of him when he's not here. Although Cole did say, let me put this up, because Cole did say that Craig can sit this one out when we mentioned
to Craig.
Yep. So
it is okay. Yeah.
So Cole is. Hey, listen, every show he's got to get something about Craig, so he did not let us down. Cole is consistent.
He is reliable. He's a reliable, cold-hearted dude.
Absolutely. So the segment we're going to go in tonight here with, obviously I'm going to be get off my lawn because I am the older one here.
Right. And I've been given so many participation trophies in my life that I think I've accomplished things in athletics. I think I'm Patrick Mahomes, quite frankly.
That's true. That's a good one. I can see Patrick Mahomes out of you with your athletic ability, no doubt. So the Athletic Dan Dugan put out an article today about Shane's comments about asking for patience, all of that. So I'm gonna let you. We'll do a little back and forth here, but I feel like we're on opposite sides here. So tell me about your thoughts with the whole Shane asking for patience, the Dugan article, and just let's do a little back and forth here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So I agreed heavily with the Dugan article, or the Dugan podcast, I guess. He was talking in that segment. I did not like that Shane went in front of Giants fans and to some degree asked for patience. The reason I don't like that is because, and granted, they started out good. They started off with a 9-win season to start the regime, right?
Yeah.
But then last year's a 6-win season. And now Shane's asking for more patience. But in the grand scheme of things, by the year 3 of an administration, the coach, the GM, we should expect wins as fans. It shouldn't take more than a few years to get better, right? And, the projection right now from DraftKings, which people will laugh, but the gambling sites are way better at projecting the season record than any sportscaster or anybody of that nature, because they care about money. They don't care about opinions. They're putting us at 6 wins again. That's most likely what's going to happen. I am very concerned that that's accurate, because I don't think that the Giants have an explosive enough offense. Certainly didn't show improvement last year. And I do not think going to the season without the real franchise quarterback is good. And my concern with Shane, my concern with Shane is it's starting to get be patient. We'll get that quarterback eventually. But if they suck again this year, they're going to go into year 4. Do I really want Joe Shane taking a quarterback because he has to now in year 4? He had opportunities to do it leading up to this. And I really think the biggest stain of his career with the Giants so far is committing to Jones as the franchise quarterback. I think Schoen is a competent guy, but I would say that Dable has done a better job so far in coaching than Schoen has done as a general manager. And we should expect wins now, not patience.
Ooh, all right. Coming in hot.
And Mark, to answer your question, it was 7.5. It was actually, that was the over-under for the Giants.
Yeah. So
here's
what I'll say to this.
Sure.
I got a lot of thoughts on this one. The first one to say is I feel like, and if you've listened to Schoen over the last few weeks, he's talked about the Bills plan. It's taken 4 years. It took 4 years. It took 4 years to get where they needed to go. Right. I personally feel like he's talking about this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't think Jones was his choice. I think that was Mara's choice. And so he's saying this to the fans to be like, look, I don't have my guy yet, but we're building this. We're putting pieces around it. We're making this roster better. So let's have a little patience. The other thing, and I'm going to give credit to New York Giant Crush on this one. She had a great point with this, is that maybe he's asking for patience because there's a lot of new coaches coming in. So let's figure out what these guys can do. Let's give them patience to retrain these guys, make these guys better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other point to that is what people are already souring and turning on Schoen, talking about, well, if he has another bad season. But when you look at it, what we've done, we have lumped this entire 10-year stretch into everybody. We're not looking at it separately. Like Schoen and Daboll should not have to worry about the fact that, well, for 10 years or 15 years, this organization has been trash. We're in year 3 of them. Year 1, they made the playoffs with a roster who had very little talent. Let's be realistic. Yes, we beat the Vikings, who had a bad defense, but hey, teams in the playoffs have bad defenses. Yes, we got destroyed by the Eagles, but you know what? So did other teams, and they went to the Super Bowl and probably should have won the Super Bowl if you think about it. With a roster that had Richie James as our leading receiver at one point, right? So let's be realistic. Let's look at the fact of the coaching job that Dave's has done, the talent that ran. Where I'll give Dave's a problem is that he hired Bobby Johnson in the first place. Like that, I will get on Dave's for that because of that, you had 2 years of no development from those O-linemen whatsoever. None with all the draft picks, right? So this whole, your kind of generation is all like, hey, let's fire him again. Let's fire him again. Dude, first of all, Mara ain't going to do that. He doesn't want to do that. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think he will either. Yep.
So that's kind of my feeling is we got to stop wanting to fire guys after 3 years. Like, look at what he did, look at the microcosm, and look at the fact that they still got 6 wins last year with all the injuries, an undrafted free agent quarterback, a backup quarterback, missing a kicker, right? Like, it's just crazy to me. Like, look at the talent he's brought in, and then I want you to counter this point with this next point. I'm like,
sure.
When you think back, you look at the end of Reese's tenure with drafting Eli Apple and Evan Ingram and Eric Flowers, and then you look at what D.G. Gettleman did, right? Like, Schoen has to come in and undo that many years of bad roster construction. Like, it's not gonna be that easy. I don't care what anybody says. Like, you can just flip it like that. You just can't flip it like that because the backups weren't even that good. Like, the starters weren't even going on to other teams. The backups aren't even going to be in the league anymore. So you have to build it from top to bottom. So it's going to take a little bit of time. So let's look at what they have accomplished. So you kind of let me hear your thoughts on, because we know Reese and DG and all that. So talk to me about that.
Well, I think the thing that makes it challenging, right, is like in everybody's head of a proper rebuild, it's like you start your first year would be pretty bad and then get to average, then you get good, right? I mean, if they have another 6-win season, then it actually went good, bad, and bad again. So it makes it a little bit tough because it's like we did see success at some point during the tenure, but it was earlier on. I will acknowledge that Schoen, had to take over a mess. This is a roster littered with gaps, left and right.
No.
I do think that his more, and you bring up an interesting point. I will never know how much input Mara had in the whole Jones situation, but I suspect it was some. If it was to the degree where it's like, he was felt forced to, I hope whenever he leaves the Giants, he goes right to the media and just spills the beans. Like, I want it out there. Like, Mara pushed this on me.
Yep.
But nonetheless, it was his responsibility to sign the guys. And I don't care about the money that Jones got. It was that commitment to him as a franchise quarterback when, in my opinion, the team was 9-7. I actually think the passing game is what was holding back the Giants from being even better than 9-7. They weren't having enough explosive plays. And I get you got to run it back after a season like that with the players that are working, not with the ones that aren't. But it's hard in a situation with a quarterback like Jones, because even though he didn't ball out, he didn't have many interceptions. We got plays done when we kind of needed them to. That's great. But he didn't take that next step forward last year. And he got injured, but it was week 6. We saw a lot of games where he was just playing like crap. So I get what you're saying. We do have to have some patience. I do not think constant turnover is a good thing. What I'm very concerned about, though, is they get to a situation at the end of this year and they fire Dable and not Schoen. I do not want that. Like, if they get rid of either of them, they got to go in unison, in my opinion. I do not want to see Dable gone, then another guy get 3 years with Schoen. In my opinion, Dable's done a decent job. I think he actually beat expectations last year with what he was dealing with towards the end. And Schoen, I guess a couple things. I wish he addressed the quarterback situation better. A, and B, I wish at least by now he had one guy that was like all pro that he drafted. He's had 3 draft picks. I wish he just had one. All pro caliber. Not every year, but, give or take a year.
Yeah, well, look at this, though. Thibodeau had 11.5 sacks or whatever it was last year in a defense where he wasn't asked to rush all the time, right? So you had that guy who did well. You had Wandale, he was injured, but he's going to show some things. I mean, everybody says it takes 2 to 3 years. Like, everybody expects guys to come in and make an impact right away. That just doesn't happen. When you really look at it, it doesn't happen. And I'm going to put this up because this goes into what we were just talking about. And this is something that bothers me. And again, I don't know your stance because we didn't talk about this, but this part here from Peter, everybody, and he's not the only one saying this. They're saying that like 2022 was the outlier and last year was the truth. And this goes back to what I was talking about
Can you keep that comment on there while you talk? Is that cool?
Yep. Thank you. Yep. So everybody is lumping in the previous years as opposed to, why do we know that 2022 is the outlier? Because the years previous under other coaches, they were crap. Like, you can't say until this year happens, we don't know which year was the outlier because this is year 3. So there's no way to know. So everybody needs to stop. Like, yes, the Giants are bad for whatever. Yes, we're all mad about it. Yes, we want to be better. But there's no way definitively you can say that 2022 is the outlier and that 23 was what really is. Just because years prior were bad. Like, again, he got the team to 6 wins with the crap he was dealing with. So for all we know, 2023 could be the outlier under Schoen and Daboll. And that's what people are missing. They're not looking at it under Schoen and Daboll. So until this year, and if this year they suck, then okay, 2022 is the outlier. But there's no way definitively, and I don't care who you are, that you can say 2022 was definitely the outlier because we sucked for 9 years prior.
You know what? That's a good point, and I'll actually agree with you. This year will prove which year the outlier was. Was it 2022 or 2023? To the point that Peter had made. I read that as 2022 was the outlier, and it kind of blinded the Giants from realizing how bad the team was. I don't think of it like that. I thought seeing them win as a team, they were finding ways to win. And if you look back at the Shermer era, that was a team that always found ways to lose in close games. But in 2000, they were winning everything in 2022. That was a close game. And then the next step forward, in my opinion, that really should be the goal is, 4 games a year where you're blowing a team out of the water, several games a year where you're losing. And then, really it's kind of a punching game for most of the games. Even the best teams kind of have to punch a little bit, right?
Yep.
We held it with the 49ers for a little bit this past year. Like, just games like that. That's what the best teams do. I wanted to get out of the scrappy underdog category, though, and improve and become that team that's a little bit better. So 22-2 was an outlier, but even though they weren't that talented, it was clear that they were a team that was a unit and well coached. And I wanted the talent to be addressed by this point so that we can get to that next level. Time will still tell. You're right, Sean, because we got another year, but I got to see some progress out of some of Shane's dudes this year.
Yeah, well, and again, there's been progress out of other dudes other than the old line, and that was because of Bobby Johnson. Like, there's no doubt about that. So when you look at it, and Darius has got a great point here, and this is what it is. Shane's wanting to have O-line coached up and developed properly. He's put a lot of resources in picks, right? How many picks of O-line? He upgraded on paper at least for, Illuminor and John Runyon. These guys got to develop. Like, Brasillo took undrafted free agents, 7th-round draft picks, and had them 15th in the league in O-line. Bobby Johnson took a 7th-round pick, a 7th overall pick, a 2nd-round pick, and turned them into historically the worst O-line ever. Right? Enough is enough. And people, and again, I'm opinionated tonight, so you're getting full Joker here tonight, guys. But the people who are upset that a line wasn't taken in there, how many linemen do you want them to have before you can actually develop them?
Well, you know what? It's funny, Sean. I forgot we should have brought that up too, right? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. What's that part? The O-line they signed, or?
Yeah, well, just not drafting the offensive line. I mean, yeah, your thoughts about that? Keep going. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was like,
no, you're good. My point is this: like, how many times have we complained about there's no weapons on offense? So, and there's no elite level talent even on the defensive side at times. So with these picks in the first 3, and definitely the first 2, they've got an elite, arguably the number 1 receiver in the draft. There was a lot of people who said Harrison Jr. and Neighbors were neck and neck. All right.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, he's number 2, and that's not far off, right?
That's not a problem.
Right. Then so starter, day 1, impact maker, difference maker, may end up being, he's got the potential to be better than Odell Beckham ever was with the Giants. No doubt in my mind. The potential is there. Then you get Tyler Newman, who's the number 1 safety in the draft in a position of need and best player available. The guy had a 1st-round grade on him. Everybody had him in the 1st round. The fact that he was even there at 47 is a shocker. What a great pick. Guy's a ball hawk, 13 interceptions in his career. Then you get a corner who's probably going to start day 1. So in the first 3 rounds, you get 3 starters, right? Then we look offensively. So you got an elite wide receiver potential. Then you get an athletic tight end who can make an impact on offense. And then in the 6th round, you get a running back who's probably going to make a difference as well. So I get people wanted a line, but man, we got to have talent. We got to have people who can score and do things on offense. And to me, that's what they got. And we got guys that can make plays on defense, right? You have an SEC corner out of Kentucky who Nick Saban spoke very highly of, who guarded the receivers in the SEC. And how good were the receivers in the SEC?
Yeah.
And played well. What are we complaining about? Well, right?
I guess this is what I try thinking about too. And I know the Giants have had mid-round linemen that were successful like David Deal, but you got to understand something. I mean, a lot of these times these dudes are depth for at least the first part of their contract. Offensive line takes a decent amount of time to get better at in the NFL. You got to adjust the speed of Micah Parsons. It's really hard.
Yep.
Right. And so I just kind of sit here and say, and I said to myself after this year and after watching Will Hernandez go to the Arizona Cardinals and all of a sudden become a very good guard, why don't the Giants start leveraging second chance linemen like other teams have been doing that to us as of late with our, thrown away, rookie contract linemen. Let's take those guys in. And that's what the Giants did this past year. And that's what I'm happy about. I'd rather have those dudes at depth and those dudes compete to play guard than a dude who's 22 years old coming out of the 5th round like Shane Lemieux. It's just not going to work, and people have to understand that. So, I don't really understand the concern with not taking a lineman, considering the offensive line has been addressed in free agency. I think we should be happier that we got some older dudes on the offensive line. I am tired. The most overrated thing about the Giants, about things to be hopeful for, is when Giants fans say, oh, we're the youngest team in the league. I don't care. That's not a good thing. I do not want the youngest team in the league. I want a mix. I want dudes with some experience. I want some guys with proven abilities. I don't want a bunch of rookies. The average age of the team being 24 is not good.
Yeah. Well, and then you have, to that point, you have people who are
Even though
upset,
they're part of my trophy generation.
right? They're all part of the participation trophy
Yeah,
there.
right. They're my guys, but no, get them
Right.
off the team.
Listen, I'm all about the get off my lawn right now. But I'm gonna put this up because Peter, thank you, man. I know I picked apart your comment and you still did this, man. So thank you for that donation to Rush.
No, he deducted it from our account. He did it.
Yeah,
Peter's hacking us.
Yeah,
thank you, Peter.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. We appreciate it. And listen, we're all on the same page, man. None of us want excuses anymore. This team, they upgraded talent, they upgraded O-line, they brought in coaches. I mean, think about this. The Saints coach they brought in to coach the running backs. Think of all the running backs he was part of with New Orleans that were really good.
Yeah.
You got to be excited about the potential there. Brasillo, like, dude, imagine if we just had the 20th ranked O-line. Like, that gets us maybe 3 more wins right there alone. Right?
Yes, give us the 20th ranked O-line, and we can. Listen. Last year they were still very close to winning as many games the year before with Tommy DeVito. Let's remember that. The Eagles game they could have won. The what other ones? Bills were at the goal line. Jets was just that one. I blame. Dable's been great. I blame Dable for that. That was the softest coaching job I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and if we had Gano, he makes the field goal, right? And then the Rams, if he makes the field goal, so
yes, Rams. Forgot about the Rams. We really could walk with 10 games there. We're not. It's not like the old days. We were just getting crushed in like 2019. You know what I'm saying? We were just getting flat out pancaked.
Yeah, exactly. So, and again, as you look at this, if you look at it aside from just looking at the quarterback situation, this team continues to add talent to the roster, right? Bobby Okereke, right? Isaiah Simmons, yes, he may not be like a starter all the time, but the dude can do some things in this defense. They drafted Dane Belton, who produced. Like, he was a 4th-round draft pick on this team, right? Wan'Dale Robinson, 2nd-round draft pick. You have guys who are doing things. And the other person who I still haven't given up hope on is Darian Beavers. Like, that guy can come in and do some things. He's just been injured. And I don't think Wink liked them. So it'll be interesting to see what Bowen thinks of him. But there have guys to produce. And I'm going to say this for all these, GM experts out here. Bill Polian, Hall of Fame GM, got the Bills to 4 straight Super Bowls, right? And then you have him with the Colts. His hit rate was 50%. That's a Hall of Fame GM. Think about
with
his draft success. Yeah, draft success. He had
that's pretty good. 50%.
Yeah, as a Hall of Fame. So people are expecting like every draft pick to hit, and yeah, that's what I mean. Oh wait, did he give us another? Look at. Oh, I lost Spartan. Well, Peter, thank you again, man. Another donation from you. So just to say, when he signed Jones, he drafted his quarterback. Continue to say he's our guy. No more excuses. Yes, we know.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. You're back. But Peter gave us another $5 just so he could complain about Jones. So we love it, man.
Yes, everybody donate $5 and complain about the quarterback.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. You want to complain about Jones? Make a donation. We're good. You can complain all you want.
Hey, Peter, I put a tweet out there today about Jones. I just said this, like, listen, buddy, your team just tried trading up to get rid of you. Go out there this year and just sling it. Some dude's in your face, throw the ball. Who cares if it gets picked off? If he plays to try to not lose, he's going to lose anyway. He keeps freaking losing. So go out there and just sling it, dude. Another thing that he doesn't do either is, like, when a dude's in relatively tight coverage, throw the ball anyway. That's what you're supposed to do. We kind of forgot, like, that's generally what happens. Like, a lot of plays are made by, ball fights, right? Just throw it. Throw it. Don't try to stay up in the pocket. Give everyone a shot. Just go out there gunslinging, man.
I agree. And listen, Peter obviously has a lot to say because he gave us another $5. So to say that's why there's no more excuses. I agree. No more excuses. Now, having said that, there's things you can say, and it doesn't mean you're making an excuse for the quarterback, right? Like you can say that Judge and Garrett stunted Jones's development without making an excuse for him. because they definitely did in those 2 years. You can say that Judge and Garrett are the reason why Jones doesn't throw deep anymore or throw when a guy may be covered, right?
Totally.
That doesn't mean you're making the excuse for him. It just is.
It just is what it is.
Right. So let's be realistic. And our fearless leader is here. So Craig, thanks for hopping on. I was just going to add you, but I'm going to put one more donation up. Dude, look at all the donations that Spartan and I are getting tonight, man. Look at this. Chris Peace, thank you. Anybody wanted to complain about Jones had to make a donation, so that was their thing. They're making donations to complain about Jones. We get it. No more excuses. But yeah, I know.
Hey guys, if you donate enough, we'll fix Craig's mic.
Right. Come off of mute because you can. I know we have our special guest.
Yeah. Ryan's here. He's ready to talk some shop.
Yep. So
awesome.
let's go ahead and we'll bring him on here. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Ryan,
good.
man, welcome. Welcome back, man.
What am I donating to if I talk about Daniel Jones?
my beer fund.
Right.
Oh, okay. That if it was a charity, I'd contribute.
The Yingling Fridge Foundation.
We're actually working, Ryan. We have acquired. Ready for this? We've acquired pieces of the end zone turf from MetLife Stadium.
Okay.
And we are going to have a raffle. I'll let you know when I get it up and running. We're going to give away.
You guys are going to be the first ones associated with the Giants to find the end zone turf.
Ryan coming in hot tonight. All right.
Yeah,
I'm going to step on it and tear my ACL.
Right. Exactly. Because we're basically, you could put it in your man cave or something like that. But we're going to try to raise some money for the J Fund. We're just putting the details.
That's great. Yeah.
We're putting it with details together now. But thanks for hanging out with us. I mean, you got to be coming off a little bit of a high, right? Because this is like, it's a fun, crazy weekend.
Yes, that's what it is. It's a fun weekend. It's a crazy weekend. I don't know if you saw. I mean, I probably worked 3 straight or 4 straight, like 12 or 13-hour days. And then that's when most guys unwind. They pour themselves a nice stiff drink. I went to the local ice cream store and got myself a nice little soft serve with vanilla soft serve with sprinkles. That's how I unwind.
Nice.
Great. It's a great couple days, but it's nonstop, like write, call, text, write, call, text, write, call, text, just to try to stay ahead of the game and hope you get more right than you get wrong, basically.
Well, we're always very thankful that you humor us and hang out with us a couple times a year. So let's chop it up, right? I mean, like, people have been kind of I think the fan base has been relatively positive about most of what I see. Now, again, we all know that there are some people on Twitter. It doesn't matter what happens. You can't make them happy. But overall, I think Spartan and Schoen would agree. Majority of the fan base is pretty excited about what happened. So let's just start at the top. Was it true that they were trying to get Drake May and they just couldn't come to a deal? Is that accurate?
Very true. Yes, very true.
Okay.
I saw what Adam Schefter reported today. I'll never question somebody with Adam Schefter's sources. I had not heard they were trying to trade up for Joe Alt. I did hear there was a very strong possibility of Joe Alt at 6 had he been there. I did not hear they were trying. That would have been almost ludicrous to trade 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick to move up 3 spots for a tackle with all they've invested in the offensive line. I guess I can't rule it out, but yes, I do know for sure they were trying to trade up for Drake May. So,
all right, that makes me feel better because people are like, well, if he was really their guy, they should have gave everything up. I'm like, you can't jeopardize the entire franchise and all those.
I guess it depends what's everything. Like, the Patriots weren't going to budge. That's the word. Like, I don't know anybody in New England, but I know enough people with the Giants and with other franchises that were in the trade market. And the word is the Patriots weren't going to budge without a Godfather offer. If the Giants had offered 2 seconds and 2 firsts, would you have done that? Like, I probably would have. I don't think it would have gotten it done, but if they budged and offered that, I probably would have done that, but I still don't think it would have gotten it done.
Yeah.
And I know you're not like allowed to give opinions anymore, but I mean, like, give me something to work on. What's your thoughts of Neighbors? Like, I think Schoen and I were on.
I got plenty of opinions.
Well, I don't know what you want to give and what you don't want to give.
My thoughts on Neighbors is he's an exceptional. Him or Roma Dunze, call it a coin flip, were the best players the Giants could have picked in that spot. So I don't think they reached, which is always a good thing. I think they picked the best possible player they could pick in that spot, one way or another, with him or Rome. The Giants board, as I reported before the draft, was Harrison as the number 1 receiver, Neighbors as the number 2 receiver, Odunze as the number 3 receiver. My board, I would have had Odunze. I would have had Harrison 1, Odunze 2, Neighbors 3. But that's not like a huge knock. Like, I do a top 100 when I talk to scouts and agents and executives. I do a top 100. I think I had Odunze 3, Neighbors 4. So you're splitting hairs there either way.
Yeah.
I just talked to enough people, let's call it 12 to 15 to 20 people. And I could, since January on, not one person could say a negative thing about Rome Odunze's game or his personality. And for a franchise that has a 0 in DeAndre Baker, a 0 in Kadarius Toney, and a close to 0 in Evan Neal, I would take the safest possible top 10 talent. To me, that was Odunze. There are people who think Neighbors is better than Harrison, so you can't argue with his top. There are people who think Neighbors was the number 2 player in the draft behind Williams. So no problem with what they did. The fear just being that he is and I want to pick my words carefully. He is like a give me the ball kind of receiver. Like, is that a diva? I don't know. Diva has like so many different connotations. I don't think he's not like a bad teammate, but he's a guy who wants the ball the way Odell Beckham wanted the ball, right? And
which for the first couple of years, that was okay.
And when your offense stinks, it's not okay. So, if you're having success, I think Malik Neighbors is going to be the reason you're having success. And I think if the offensive line is terrible and they struggle to move the ball like they did the last 2 years, I think Malik Neighbors on those teams will get very frustrated.
Okay. Go ahead, Spartan. You want to jump in here?
Yeah, first things first. Thank you, Paul Schwartz, your buddy over at the New York Post, for posting my picture on the New York Post as soon as he got the Neighbors pick. It's the selfie photo with Neighbors. I was fortunate enough to be at the draft.
Nice.
And get up close while he came down and dapped up the fans. That was really cool. Yeah, I mean, you touched on those speculations here. I mean, what do you know in terms of like quarterbacks? Like, how did they, now that we know that they weren't interested in taking those guys at 6, what were their actual thoughts on some of those other quarterbacks?
Yeah, you know what? It's a great question. I reported that they were interested in McCarthy. I reported it for weeks, for months. I backed off it a little bit in the last week, and then I went back to it in the last 2 days because I heard it again. So I thought they were. Let me put it this way. There were people in the Giants organization who are pretty high up who were J.J. McCarthy fans. Turns out Joe Schoen, who makes the final pick, and Brian Dable, who makes the final pick, weren't big J.J. McCarthy fans, obviously, or he would have been the pick. But there were, and this is not to make an excuse, I obviously was wrong about the team's interest in J.J. McCarthy. He has fans in that building who would have supported J.J. McCarthy being the number 6 pick. It was not a smokescreen in any way. People, as soon as you don't make the pick, people are like, oh, that was a smokescreen. No, sometimes you spend a lot of time with somebody and you come away saying, okay, that's not the guy. Like, sometimes you do the private workouts and you do the facility visits and all because there's genuine interest, not a smokescreen. And the process leads you into that's not our guy. I believe when the process started a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, the Giants were interested in J.J. McCarthy at a point. There was a point leaving the combine where it was like, oh, J.J. McCarthy, you could probably trade down to 12 and get J.J. McCarthy. You could probably take Michael Penix, move up from 47 to 33 and take Michael Penix. And in both those cases, I think the Giants at that point were very interested in McCarthy and Penix. I just think when push came to shove, they were not interested in them at the 6th pick. And I never really heard anything about Bo Nix for what that's worth.
For sure.
And Neighbors is in the building, right? He already did some press. He's done some photo shoots already. Have you gotten a chance to get in front of him yet or no?
Some media did. I did not. I was not there when he did his Friday afternoon interview. I was doing NFL wide grades and blasting the Falcons for the Kirk Cousins debacle. But some media did, and I read the transcript. I watched the video. I mean, I thought he came across like you want him to come across. He had some swagger. He talking about why he gets separation, and I thought it's like a Spider-Man talent. I think the Post ran a back page of him in a Spider-Man suit climbing on top of MetLife Stadium. That was pretty cool. I liked the way he sounded. He had a swagger to him that you want, that honestly has been missing from the Giants for a while. Now you have to walk that line, and that's what Odell struggled with. You have to walk that line, but you do want the swagger.
Cool. Because I remember we talked like, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and you were looking forward to it, the pick being Rome, because you were talking about how great of a personality he had and how fun it would be to cover him. So we're hopeful that Neighbors is the same type of guy. Maybe different, right? Different.
Definitely
but still,
different.
Yeah, different. But just as, you're hoping for the animation. You're hoping for the quotes or some fun stuff.
Here's what I've learned. A lot of these guys, and maybe Odunze's the exception, maybe he's not. A lot of these guys, their personalities go as their success is going. If the team, maybe to a lesser degree as the team success is going, but a lot of guys are up when they're performing and down when they're not performing. So I think if he is having success, I think he's going to have a magneticism to him that Giants fans are going to enjoy. And if he's not, then I think, he's going to be a young player who needs to learn how to handle the ups and downs of the NFL. Like some betting website set his over under, I saw today, at like 850 receiving yards. That would be the most by a Giants receiver in 5 years. And yet I would think that would still kind of classify as like not a success.
Yeah. You want him to have that 1,100, 1,200 yards receiving. You want him to blow it up like Odell did.
The key is I think he's going to be a high volume target. How many yards is, it depends how many games he plays in. I think he's going to be targeted 7 times a game or something like that, which they haven't had that draw it up for this guy. And I really don't care what the second and third reads are. It's going to him. They really haven't had that guy, and that's what he's going to be.
All right. Go ahead, Shawnee. You want to jump in?
Yeah, I got 2, but one's a real quick one. With Neighbors, there was a lot of talk on Twitter that Neighbors wasn't happy he was drafted by the Giants. Did you hear anything from anybody? Anything we can kind of confirm there? Or
no, I don't.
He's not happy in the building.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything like that. I've seen the speculation. I haven't heard anything like that. Like, I think that comes from, like, there was some video. You guys probably saw it more than I did. Wasn't there some video he was doing, like a live stream with Jaden Daniels where he like disconnected himself or whatever when Jaden Daniels asked him about Daniel Jones? I'm not going to read too much into that. I mean,
I got to be honest, that was blown up way more than it ever should. If you watch,
he has a smart agent. Malik Neighbors has a smart agent. Yeah. That smart agent certainly told him in January, hey, one of the teams you could go to is the Giants. So he's been mentally thinking about the Giants for 4 months. If he's now disappointed about it, then he didn't do his homework for 4 months. I would be surprised by that. Look, a lot of guys don't want to go to – it's a catch-22, right? Like, you want to go early in the draft because there's status with that and you get the bigger contract. But if you go – unless you're the Bears, if you go to a team early in the draft, the team probably is not very good.
I was like, it's the downfall of how the draft works, right? If you're going in the top, 7, 8 picks, they're not good teams, and they're relying on you to make them better. That's just the way it works.
And my understanding is he's the kind of guy who will like that challenge, that it's on him.
Yeah. My other question, Ryan, is Shane said a lot on the pre-draft presser where a number of times he kept saying, I'm going to let the board talk to me. I'm going to let the board talk to me. It seems like he really did that because they were limited with the draft picks they had and the ability to move around much with the lack of draft capital to move around. To me, the Newbin pick really speaks to he let the board speak to him. Do you feel like he really stuck to that? I'm going to let the board speak to me in this draft, and I'm going to do what's best for the team based on how the board goes.
I think that's interesting. Maybe I need you to explain to me what you mean by how the board goes, because I'll answer and then we could debate it if you want. Like, okay. Yes, I love the Newbin pick. Neighbors is obviously a good pick. Of all the other picks, Newbin is my favorite pick. I think I've heard nothing but rave reviews about him. One scout for another team, I said, who was your favorite interview this whole time? Senior Bowl, combine, private workouts. Well, who's your favorite kid to be around? He said Tyler Newbin. Wow. So
that's big.
So a ball hawk. I think he's a tremendous pick. I also think at that point, the Giants probably would have preferred a corner if you can give them truth serum, but corners went 40, 41, 42, and 43 before they picked 47. If you could get a do-over, would Joe Schoen move up into 41-ish, 39? Would he trade 47 to the Seahawks instead of 39 so he had his run on corners before that? Maybe, because look, Joe Schoen is a positional value guy. That's why Saquon Barkley and Xavier McKinney are not here anymore. So cornerback is more valuable than safety. So he probably would have preferred corner safety in that order rather than safety corner. I think he picked best players available, but I also think, and this is not a knock on Joe Schoen, 90% of the GMs do this. Certainly the GMs of non-deep teams do this. Take out the Howie Rosemans or whatever. I think he definitely picked for need. Maybe he set up the board with need in mind, or maybe he had two guys on the same line and he picked the safety instead of the defensive tackle. But it would be hard to argue. It would be a pretty strong coincidence. So that we need a corner and a corner is the top guy on our board. Oh, we need a starting safety. Oh, a starting safety is the top guy on our board. Oh, Darren Waller might retire. Oh, a tight end's the top guy on the board. It's pretty convenient that when they got to pick, it wasn't especially since this was a loaded wide receiver draft. You're telling me at 70 there was no wide receiver on top of their board and they just happened to go corner? I'd find that very surprising.
But the thing is, people call that a problem. I don't feel like as though they went with the pick. They had exact one position in mind. They're going to go with that position. It's listen, of all the important positions, of all the positions that we're kind of weak at, let's go with the best of that. That's what it seems like they kind of did, right?
They call that where need marries best available. They call it, and that's fine. That's fine if that's what you do. Yeah. I agree. I agree with that. But I find it hard to believe that every single time there was only one guy on the top of the board and it just happened to fill up.
Yeah.
I'm sure, you know what? Much more of a marriage than that.
And Spartan, think of it also too, because I've been thinking a lot about how the Giants have basically been a B-level talent team, right? They got a lot of nice players, right? But they don't have any stars, right?
Yeah, and they got to fix that.
And you have to fix that because every team has. Sean and I were chewing this up pretty good a couple of days ago. I said, you at some point you need the best player at a position to be a playoff team. Most of them are leaning on quarterback receiver, quarterback tight end, quarterback running back, right? And then there's a group that have defensive end outside linebacker, right? Defensive tackle, right? The Giants realistically outside of Dexter Lawrence, don't really have those players. You're thinking Burns could be one, but you don't know, right? Tibbs could be one, but hasn't yet, right? So, when you look at the board, you needed a corner, but when you look at the talent of corner, you're out picking another B level. Nothing wrong, by the way, with being a B level talent cornerback. But at number two, why don't you give me the number one safety on the board? That's basically buying yourself a star, because you just don't win in the NFL if you don't have stars. And the biggest issue the Giants have, where have they had a star? They've had Barkley, but he's been by himself, right? And then you get
I'd say
Dexter.
Dex and Thomas. I think those are the two.
Those
Yeah.
are the two guys.
Yep. So this buys them some, I guess, and I love Belton. We all do. We love Pinnock, right? We know that the defensive coordinator runs a lot of 3 safety high, right? This gives you, I think, a little bit, and trust me, Schoen will tell you, I was flipping out. I wanted a corner all the way. But now that it's over and I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, you did get the best safety in the draft. That's giving you
had
leverage.
holes at both secondary spots, and you got the best player at one of the secondary spots.
Yeah.
Just happens to be the less important of the two.
And I think also too, Ryan, what we've learned is that Shane
But
really
hold on one sec. But
Yeah.
you did make a good point about you have to take into advantage. Safety is less important to most defenses. There is a theory out there that to Bowen's defense, safeties are more valuable than to most defenses.
Yeah, he goes 3. Yeah. So I think, Ryan, to Shane's point, like what we've learned is Newman wasn't a top 30 visit, so he'll stray from that, but he values the top 30 visits because he is very much a traits, a scheme fit, a personal fit. And that's what you really saw, in my opinion, with Phillips in that 3rd round pick. Top 30 visit, SEC cornerback going against top, SEC wide receivers. Like everything you've seen there, that it really speaks to that, right? Like it's got to be. I think this is what people forget is that it has to be a scheme fit and a personal fit. And to me, that's what Shane values. Would you agree?
I would agree. Yes, personality, character are very big. He likes to be around the guy. No one really knows how much time they spent with Kadarius Toney. There's a theory that they only spent like whatever it was, 15 minutes at the combine and 15 minutes at the Senior Bowl or whatever with him. That Joe Shane will never make that mistake. He will never pick somebody he's spent 15 minutes around.
All right. Well, here's the biggest question I have, and this is what you were just alluding to about the corner is it's the only part of the draft that makes me scratch my head a little bit, right? Because again, you could have got another wide receiver, right? Or you could have went and got a running back there. Maybe you get, Blake, right? But you go for the corner because we need the corner. But what I question just a little bit is Phillips is an inside corner. He's a slot corner.
Phillips is flop.
Yes, but well, I hope not because Flott is 175 pounds.
But he's an SEC corner drafted in the 3rd round who mostly played in the slot, and you're going to try to force him outside. That's basically what it is. So,
again, I hear great things about him. Maybe they'll let him try to compete on the outside, right? I told Schoen just a couple of days ago, Leonard Marshall and I are pretty friendly. I know he's from LSU. He has been on the sideline numerous times. And the other side was when Flock got drafted. The other corner was Stingley, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he was saying that Flock doesn't get a lot of competition. You know what I mean, or a lot of press. But he's a really good corner. But at the next level, he's going to play probably slot, and that's exactly what happened. And now I'm assuming that Phillips, is going to get a shot to play outside.
I think they're going to start him inside and try Flott on the outside again.
Because it just doesn't seem like a good fit. And then I start scratching my head like, well, why did they do that? Like, no more Band-Aids.
Yeah, I would say they spent a lot of time with him. They were comfortable with him. They're not sold on Cordell Flott, and they took who they had as their best available corner. So I don't think they worried too much about duplication at that spot. I don't think they're counting on, Cordell, like, oh, we can't replace Cordell Flott. They think they're looking to upgrade, and if Flott bumps outside and wins the job, then so be it.
Yeah, a lot of guys in the comments are saying that he played a lot in Kentucky. He played a lot on the outside.
We asked him about that. He said last year he played a lot on the outside, but most of his career he's been in the slot.
Okay. All right, because for me, again, I'm sure Cordell Flott.
I watched the highlights of him. I can't say I watched. The people in your chat have probably watched more Kentucky games than I have.
Probably, yes. There are probably a couple guys in there.
I asked him the question. I'm the one who asked him, and he said last year he played a lot more on the outside, and he got more comfortable with it as the season went along. But most of his career was spent in the slot.
Okay. Go ahead,
okay.
Sean, jump in.
I would say to that point, do you think there's a veteran free agent corner that's out there that they might have interest in?
Yes. I don't know who it is. It's not a Dory Jackson, but yes, I would expect somebody, especially if, as we all expect, Darren Waller retires and they get a little bit more money. I would expect corner is where that goes. A couple years ago, they signed Fabian Moreau for like the veteran minimum. Yeah. I would expect somebody like that, like a 1-year guy, but maybe a little bit of a better player. Maybe instead of the veteran minimum, they have a $3 million a year contract, and they can attract a little bit better player.
Yeah, because I think isn't there a couple or at least one of the Titans cornerbacks that are still available?
I would have to. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Gilmore.
Yeah, I mean Gilmore's. I would be surprised if he settles for $3 million, but I would think somebody in that range. Yeah, I haven't heard any names, but that is certainly the position I think they will look to add a veteran.
Yeah,
much like who had the Eagles added Mekhi Becton today, the Cowboys added Zeke. Like now that starting today, signing free agents doesn't count towards comp picks. I would think the Giants will look to add a free agent. Yes.
And listen, I thought McLeod, by the way, had a great end of the year. I thought he played really well. So
I think McLeod has strong Julian Love vibes. Like,
yeah,
he's a do everything kind of guy who, like, in small doses is really impressive. And then when Julian Love ultimately got his chance, he turned out to be a really good player. I don't know if Nick McLeod will do that, but he's certainly earned the right to have a chance to show he deserves a bigger role. Love, it took 3 years for him to finally get a shot, and then he was ready for it. McLeod looks like he has earned a chance to have it, and then we'll find out if he's ready for it.
Ryan, let me ask you this. I mean, a lot of fans out there are complaining that the Giants didn't draft a lot of linemen. I found that one to be the most ridiculous complaint. What were your thoughts about it?
I made that complaint a bunch of times.
I thought if they could have drafted a defensive lineman somewhere that made sense, not overdraft, but in their group of top available, then they should have found a way, because I think they're light on the interior defensive line. Offensive line, I totally disagree. They're so invested in this offensive line. Free agents, and not just Runyon and Illuminor, the backups, Stinney and what's the other, Schlottman, and all, like, they've signed guys. They have an insurance plan. Whether they're good or not, I don't know. Josh Azudu, they're not treating Josh Azudu like a throwaway. They want him to compete for a starting job or be their top interior guard. And so if he's the top interior guard and Illuminor is like the swing tackle, or Evan Neal is the swing tackle, like, where is the other? You're drafting what? Your 9th offensive lineman? Like, no, I think they're invested in this group of offensive linemen. And if it doesn't work, then Neal will be gone next year. All the guys on 1-year contracts will be gone. Azudu will be gone, and they'll start over.
Yeah, it seems like they want to develop the guys. That's why Brusilla was hired. That's why John let go.
They want to develop what they have. Yeah, they're not ready to give up on what they have. They want to put a lot of blame for what happened on people who are no longer here.
I get sick of relying on rookies to come in, the 4th round, the 5th round pick guys. Like, they're 22 years old. It's really tough to adjust the offensive line in the NFL. I was getting sick to having those guys as depth, as opposed to getting the veterans, like the guys like Will Hernandez, who would leave the Giants, go to another team, discount contract, very cheap, and then ball out because they're already a little bit more, mature. They know what to expect. I want to have those guys as depth. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
That's what Stinney is, right? Isn't he the guy from the Buccaneers? That's basically what he is. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so when we do on Wednesdays, we do a draft show, Ryan, called Rush Hour, and it's mostly Spartan and Michael Stewart, the Truth, and I get they allow me to come on my own show and do one position. Which over the years I've always done tight ends, and outside of Bowers, I loved Ben Sinnott from Kansas State, and I loved Theo Johnson. Like, those are my top 3. I was really excited to see them get him. He's very underutilized at Penn State. And I've seen 2 interviews with him, like, saying, hey, I'll do anything they need me to do. He's like, but when you see him with the ball in his hand, he's good. And he's got good hands.
So A tight end coach told me he looks the part, but he doesn't do much. So I knocked the pick a little bit. A scout texted me today after I knocked the pick and was like, well, he's actually does a lot within their offense. Like he was their second leading receiver or their second leading, like a little bit like a Darius Slayton when he first came into the league. Nobody really expected much of a 6th-round pick. Well, he was asked to block a lot in Auburn's offense.
Yeah.
You didn't really see what he could become. So there's a thought within the Giants, I think, that they can make him a better pro than he was a college player. I think Dane Brugler at The Athletic does the best draft guide. If no one's read it, you should. And I think he said like he's not a big yards after catch guy. He's underneath routes and then he goes down. Well, that's a little alarming because he's supposed to be a receiving tight end. He's not a blocking tight end.
Correct.
So and again, if you have athleticism and size should tell me you should break some tackles. So I think he's one of the more interesting picks of the draft because you're right. They could have gone. That's a spot I thought they would go running back. That's a spot I thought they would go defensive tackle. I was a little surprised they went tight end there, but I think they think there's a lot more to squeeze out of him that the world hasn't seen yet.
I think tight ends are so dependent on that offense too. They were in college. I mean, you look at a guy like Sam Laporte at Iowa, and that guy was not utilized to his abilities, and that's what we all hope for. Right now, Iowa's very particular when it comes to blowing offensive weapons. They don't know how to run one, but they know
how to make tight ends though.
Penn State.
Well, that's it. The thing with Sam Laporta is nobody worried about Sam Laporta because we did it on George Kittle and we did it on who's the other TJ Hawkinson. We did it on like, oh no, this guy doesn't do anything in college. It was like, no. We've done this before. Sam Laporta can play. Iowa doesn't know how to run an offense.
They just get them ready for the next level. That's it.
Yeah. Iowa keeps running crappy offenses, but they keep spitting out all-world tight ends.
Nope.
And I was actually we were talking about like Bellinger here, which is interesting because without Waller, Bellinger kind of slots back into the pass catching tight end because they basically stuck him in there to play right tackle this past year.
That's true. They
really
did him a disservice. He was promising as a rookie, and he did team first stuff last year, and it was not what he was best suited for.
And the guy came back after breaking his eye socket. I mean, what else can you ask the guy to do? So they signed 2 tight ends that seem to be blocking tight ends. Now they draft Theo. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe that gives, Bellinger a chance to kind of spread his wings again.
I think it does. Yep. I think it does. I think Daniel Bellinger will be tight end 1 this season, and then they'll try to incorporate Theo Johnson as a receiver, and you'll see the other 2 guys on short yardage packages.
Are all the guys? Oh, go ahead, Sean.
I would say to that point, Ryan, it seems like this draft and who they drafted offensively fits into what Daboll did as a play caller in Buffalo. I feel my own opinion that it leads to Daboll maybe calling plays this season. Like, have you heard any more about that? Or because again, you look at Buffalo had 2 decent tight ends, so you got Bellinger and Johnson. Neighbors is kind of like his Diggs, right? It just seems like they drafted for him calling the plays.
He is calling the plays. Okay. Like I've been saying this since November. Like whether Kafka knows it yet or doesn't know it yet, or the writing's on the wall, like Brian Daboll is entering the season. Joe Schoen might not be, but Brian Daboll is entering the season on the hot seat. Brian Daboll's personality is very take charge. He is not going to go down with somebody else controlling his fate. In no world is that happening. So whether they've had the conversation, doesn't have the conversation, anybody who knows Brian Daboll would be floored. So I guess this is not me saying I know. This is me saying everybody I know who knows him would be stunned if he's not calling the plays.
Interesting. I think that's necessary, right? We've all talked about it, right? If we want a dynamic offense, just let Daboll do his thing.
Yeah, and then the owners
you still need the Jimmies and Joes, and they got one. I mean, Malik Neighbors is one, but I mean, I think you could put Bill Walsh there, and it wouldn't matter if your offensive line can't block and your receivers can't get open. Like I mean, it's not really going to matter. So I think they upgraded. They got a legit playmaker, but they're going to, I mean, let's call it what it is. They lost their two best playmakers. Like Saquon and Waller were their two best playmakers. Their third best playmaker is not in OTAs because he's unhappy with his contract. So you got Malik Neighbors, but I'm not sure your offensive playmaking cast is better than it was last year. You have a great wide receiver, or should be a great wide receiver, but like the sum of losses still might be bigger than the sum of gains, with the wild card being the offensive line.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of, like I said, if you don't have Slayton and Bellinger's, going to try to step into that role, you are a little bit limited. So Hyatt's really, if you think about all of them, Hyatt's the one needs to step up out of all of them. Like, because otherwise you're very one-dimensional, right? You need Hyatt to scare some people.
If you have Hyatt and Neighbors on the field at the same time, defensive coordinators will be more afraid of the Giants than they have been since Odell and Saquon were together.
Yeah. And Wandale in that mix too, right? Those three together with their speed and their.
Yeah. I think Wandale's a little bit more of an underneath kind of shimmy and shake guy than he is a break you down with his speed guy. But yeah, Wandale has shown some promise. Yeah.
Well, it'd be nice if we have that kind of,
But we're talking about it. I mean, I realize one's a rookie, one's a second-year player, and one's a third-year player. Combined, those guys have two career touchdowns. Okay,
right.
So you do have to bring it back a little bit. Before there are Giants people like, oh, we have like one of the best trios of receivers in the league. It's like Wandale has 2 touchdowns, Jalen has none, and Malik's never played a snap. So maybe Odunze, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore are better.
Right. If it comes together, though, then what you're looking at here is finally the defenses can kind of put more assets against the secondary and, not load the box up like they have been against Daniel Jones and just crushing him.
Yes, exactly. And against Saquon Barkley, who got hit in the backfield more than any running back in the NFL. So Devin Singletary isn't going to be able to make chicken salad out of chicken poop for as much as Saquon Barkley was.
But that's a great segue for running backs, though, because this one's the head scratcher for me. Tyrone Tracy is the 5th pick, 166th overall running back out of Purdue, but he played wide receiver for his entire career and then was like, I'm going to take a 5th year and play running back.
Yeah, and he was good.
He is good, but he was second. He was second in receiving. He was second in receiving with 579 yards. I mean, it's not like the guy was blazing it wide open here. And then somehow he gets an opportunity to play running back. Like, is this a little bit of an odd pick here? I'm hoping this guy can ball because he seems like he's great, by the way, after contact. Like the guy's tough as nails and he's great after contact. I'm just kind of thinking, like, if we wanted a running back, why didn't we just draft a running back?
Because I don't think they wanted a 20 carry running back. I think they wanted a gadget player who they can put in and put him in the backfield. It's like, oh, is he going to take a handoff? Is he going to run a
screen pass?
No, why can't I think of the route? The running back or wheel route.
Wheel route.
Yeah, is he going to go to the corner and run a wheel route? And all of a sudden he's a receiver in that spot against the linebacker. And and more than anything. So I think he's a gadget offensive player. And I think more than anything, Joe Schoen told you this in his pre-draft press conference. Kick returners were going to be a big deal in this draft with the new kickoff rule. And he is a kick returner. I experienced, I don't know, he had 30 of them last year, I think, 1 for a touchdown. When was the last time, seriously, guys, when was the last time the Giants had a legit kickoff return weapon? And I know the kickoff return was de-emphasized the last couple of years around the league. But when was the last time they had a real kick return weapon? I think it's Dwayne Harris. That's 8 years ago.
I was going to go back to Dominic Hickson, actually.
Yeah. So, if that's going to be a real play in the game, then the Giants can't do what they did with punt returner last year and just try to make Eric Gray the guy. Then It screwed up games. It screwed up Trey's confidence. It was a disaster. So, like, the last thing I wanted to see them do was just throw any Joe back there at kick return and say, oh, you're fast. You'll figure Wandale, you'll figure it out. No, if you've never done it, then you can't do it on the fly. And Tyrone Tracy's done it, so they should be able to put him back there and he should know what he's doing.
Okay, that works. Because like I said, I was like, I want to really like this guy, but I'm trying to figure out what position he plays. But
People are always like, the best offense is a good defense. You know what else could help the NFL's, what were they, 30th ranked scoring offense? Starting at the 40 instead of the 18.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And think of him too, Craig, like he could be like a Deebo Samuel for the Giants.
That would be, well, even if he was half of Deebo Samuel, I'd take it.
I'm not saying he's going to be Deebo. I'm saying type.
Like I said, I'll take half of Deebo and I'd be happy. Like I said, the guy is his stats are crazy. The guy
the Jets got draws a lot of Deebo Samuel comparisons. Malachi Corley, that's the guy who, if you asked in this draft, the name Deebo came up a lot with Malachi Corley.
So Tracy could be more like a Cordarrelle Patterson.
Yes, there you go. That's a great comparison, actually. If he was anywhere near that, you would be thrilled. That's a good comparison. Because he's got that running back, wide receiver background with kick returning. Yeah, that would be the high end for Tyrone Tracy. Yeah.
By the way, Tuto's in the comments and he wants to know. I'm going to put this up on the screen here. It says, Craig, who are the current Giants Rush sponsors? Well, Tuto, we don't have one right now, so we're looking for one. So if anybody wants to sell us a title sponsor for the podcast, please do, because we're going into 2024 without one. And it's been a while since we haven't had one. So we definitely are in search of a sponsor. I don't care if it's a beer, car, vitamin, restaurant. I don't care. I'll take it all. So I'm sorry, Tuto, to tell you we do not have one at the moment, but you can sell me one. There's no doubt you can. All right. Last but not least is I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Is it Masu? Darius Masu?
I'm not sure, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't actually heard it said yet. Yeah.
So
I've heard it, seen it typed and written, but I haven't actually.
So he played 2 years in Hawaii. Actually, I think it might have been 3 in Hawaii. And he put together 2 back-to-back 100 tackle seasons, right? That's pretty dang good, but it's Hawaii, right? So he transfers to UCLA, right? And he's a good player, right? He
led them in tackles twice too.
Yes. The issue is that he is a tweener. He is the definition of tweener. He is 6'1", 230 pounds. That's really hard in the NFL, at that size. There are guys like Sam Mills and, there are guys, but it's really hard to make it in the NFL at that size. He's very muscular for his size, they say. He packs on a lot of muscle. He's got a great motor. They said he's a liability in pass coverage. So is this and I'm not going to, listen, I hope the guy makes it. I don't want to kill the guy before he takes a snap. Just when you read his profile, they're talking about this guy could be a phenomenal special teams player. Yes. Not to count on him to actually be making a ton of difference. Yeah, right, Cole. Zach Thomas, same thing, shorter guy. What's your thoughts on this pick? Sounds like special teams to me.
Yes, that's what it sounds like to me. He played the new Giants special teams coordinator, was his special teams coordinator at Hawaii when he was at Hawaii. So they know each other. Yeah. They know each other going back. So he knows exactly what he's getting on special teams. So wouldn't be surprised at all if he stood on the table for this guy as one of his guys for like a core special teamer. So I also think Giants fit like, what is a 6th round pick? Like Marcus McKeithen was a 6th round pick. He never, like when he's on the field, it's not good. So like, what do you want from a 6th round pick? Like Tay Crowder was like the last.
Bradshaw, damn it.
Tay Crowder was a Mr. Irrelevant who was on the field a lot. He wasn't very good. So like, if you hit a home run or you get a starter out of the 6th round, like Darius Slayton, that's amazing. But like for the most part, 6th rounders are 4-year, 1 contract special teamers, and backup guys when Micah McFadden is injured. Just a get by guy.
Got it. Yeah, because I was like I was shocked, right? That I was like, whoa, he's 6'1". What are we doing here?
Like Micah McFadden was a 5th round pick. He plays a lot. He's pretty decent. Like that's a good pick. So if this guy is on Micah McFadden's track, then you got something. If not, he's just a special teamer like Carter Coughlin.
Well, at least they're giving precedence to special teams again, which is good. And then the other thing I'll ask real quick, Ryan, is when you look at the defensive selections, they're all sure, solid tacklers. It seems like Schoen is really putting an emphasis on guys who can tackle because let's be real, the Giants sucked for the last 2 years with tackling, right? It seems that was his emphasis this year.
Let me tell you, that's a good point, but I'll tell you what I think was a bigger. I'm not discounting what you said. I think that's actually a really good point that I have to look into more because I hadn't thought of that, and you just put that seed in my head. Let me tell you what he really emphasized: durability. The Giants are the most injured team in the league the last 10 years going back. Last year was a disaster injury-wise. So Neighbors, the book on him is never misses a game, never misses a practice, plays through injuries. The guy we were just talking about, Darius, has played 63 consecutive college football games. Newbin played through a torn meniscus last season. That's why his 40 time his athletic scores were a little lower. He had surgery right after the season ended. So he drafted warriors, basically, guys who are not going to live in the training room. Is what that to me was the number one theme of his draft class.
Yeah, and by the way, it's a great point by Cold that we always think about Okereke being a big guy because he plays big, but he's also only 6'1", right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they list him at 6'1", 240, right? And then some sources have him listed at 235. That's basically exactly what they just drafted, right? So, we're normally thinking about an inside linebacker at 6'2", 6'3", right? So some of these guys are really dynamic for their size. So who knows? You know what I mean? Maybe he pans out after all, right? Because we don't have big line. McFadden's not big. I mean, he's 240, but he's not tall.
I think people get wrapped up in size. The game is speed now and athleticism. Cam Brown was a 6'5" inside linebacker who played 4 snaps on defense in 4 years. He was a specialty. He had the size. If you want to put him next to the Darius guy, it's I'll take the 6'5" guy. But Cam Brown obviously couldn't get on the field defensively under 2 different coordinators. So it's not all size.
And by the way, and it's funny because they didn't bring Cam Brown back. And Cam Brown and Carter Coughlin were your big time, your bigger special teams guys. They bring Carter Coughlin back, I'm assuming kind of like the Mark Hertzlick kind of a role, be a special, or even, I guess even Chase Blackburn to some degree, just special teams captain, right? And maybe this guy slots right in there because you do need tacklers, as Sean was just saying. Another great point by Cold is, what's up with Beavers? He should be healthy, and I don't know. If he's going to contribute or not, but he's still on a team.
He's still on the team. I have no idea. Last season, he never looked as explosive as he did torn ACL. But everybody that comes back from that differently. Maybe his second year, he'll have some of his explosion back. Maybe new defensive coordinator will like him more than last defensive coordinator. You don't know. But last year, he just never looked like he had it all back. But as we saw, obviously different position player I talk about a lot. Saquon didn't have it all the way back his first year after an ACL either. Sometimes it takes guys 2 years.
Spartan, jump in. You're quiet back there.
Got one last question. How are the Giants feeling about the quarterback room going into the season? Are they truly confident, or is it kind of couldn't really find any other alternatives?
Yeah, I think it's more of the latter. I think they're lamenting that they didn't get a quarterback, but again, McCarthy and Penix, they didn't force. So they deserve credit for that. They didn't force a quarterback pick.
Right.
Problem is McCarthy and Penix are both in situations to succeed whenever they get on the field. They have good offensive lines, good coaches, and good playmakers around them. So that could make them come back to haunt the Giants. Giants didn't force the pick, so you want to give them credit. I think they really thought they were going to get a quarterback. You don't spend the time and the money and Easter in Michigan away from your family if you don't think you're going to get a quarterback. I think they're surprised that they have the same 3 quarterbacks they did before the draft. But I kind of think they feel like Daniel Jones right now, like they did when they first got here. Like, okay, we have you for just like when we turned down your 5th-year option. We have you for 1 year. Go prove that you belong to be here long term. The difference is now he's making $40 million to prove it instead of whatever he was making then, $7 million to prove it. But I kind of feel like that's how they feel about him again. It's like, okay, go prove it.
And yeah, because you don't want them to reach. You don't want Shane to have reached and be like, "Oh crap, I got to get Penix." If he didn't feel like he was truly the guy, what I will say is this though, you know, it would be a mark against Shane if he drafted a quarterback and they sucked, right? And it was reached. That's a mark against Shane. If either JJ or Penix or if any of those guys do end up being successful, people will look at Shane and say, "Well, why didn't you go after that?"
Yeah, that's a mark against them too. You're damned
right.
if you do. If you get it wrong, either way, you're damned.
If he missed on Rattler, who went in the 4th round, then okay, that doesn't matter. But those first round guys that he had an opportunity to get, those
you have to get it. Yeah, you have to get it right. I mean, he wouldn't be the Giants GM if they picked Josh Rosen instead of Josh Allen. So,
right.
Yep.
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean. Jump in.
No, I think I asked a lot. I don't know if I have anything more for Ryan there.
I got one for you guys.
Bring it.
Are you the fan voices of the fans? Are you buying what he's selling? We're not 1 or 2 players away. Rome wasn't built in a day. We have to have some patience. Are you buying the oh, okay, I get it. He's building it the right way. Not a lot of high expectations for this year. Are you buying what Joe Schoen is selling? Or are you like, whoa, it's year 3 this is when you're supposed to be ascending. Daniel Jones has the 5th highest salary cap hit of any position in the NFL this year. Why are you slow playing me like we're going to stink?
That's interesting. That's really
just
interesting.
You open the podcast. Craig, you start because I want everyone to answer this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So what I'm not buying is I thought this draft, even though I'm very happy with it, I thought they were going to go for it. In a way, they were like when the Eagles wanted, I hope I pronounce it right, like Cooper DeJean, however you say it. Like they wanted him. He was on their board, and they were nowhere near going to get him, so they went and got him. Right. Mm-hmm. So I was under the impression this year they were going to do something really dramatic.
So was I.
To make this team, whether it was quarterback or whether it was cornerback, okay, those 2 spots, I thought they were going to go for it. Like they were saying, you know what, we're winning 10 games this year. And the way to do it is, back to my original point about having A-level players. Like, hey, look, I think Newbin could be, right? He's got some star, but Phillips, Johnson, Tracy, none of those guys are star guys. Those are B-level players. So I'm not really overly buying it because I thought that this draft, they were going to go for it. Like they were going to be aggressive with getting that guy that went, oh man, the Giants aren't fooling around anymore.
So my question is, are you willing to have patience with him? Like he's preaching like, you gotta be patient with us. Or are you like, no, it's year 3 playoffs? No,
that's the thing. The other side of the coin is yes, I am patient.
Okay.
Because I'm patient for a couple of reasons, but the number one reason is he's not a moron, right? Okay. We went through.
Yeah. He's still living off in your eyes. He's still living off. The bar was on the ground. As long as it's above that, I'm okay.
And remember, like what we went through, Mark Ross screwing it up, and and Gettleman screwing it up, Jerry Reese screwing it up. Like I still like what they're building. I just think they are taking their time. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of on the fence with it. Like the guy's smart. It's a little too slow for me, but I'm okay with it because getting rid of him, the next guy could be a complete moron.
Could be. Let's just say, to be clear, they had the guys you named, Ross, Reese, Gettleman. They had their misses, but I'm waiting for his Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas, or his Odell Beckham and who was the other good pick in like around that
Craig,
time.
you said this the other day on the podcast. You're waiting for that guy, you know? I remember you saying that.
Like, I mean, look, Neighbors is going to be the guy. I just was, again, and I'll let you guys answer. I don't want to take all the time, but Neighbors is a given, right? Neighbors is
no one's a given.
No, I meant from the standpoint of what we have seen. We know this guy can play.
Yeah.
I needed star power in the second and third round. That's why everybody, Ryan, you don't understand. These guys, I love them all, but they all give me shit about Wandale, and we can laugh about it to the end of the world. But he wasn't the right pick in the second round. He wasn't the right pick.
Third.
I'm with second.
No, Spartan. He's the second round pick.
Yeah.
Why do you think I'm so incensed about it all the time?
He was 2. Flott and Azudu were 3.
That's right. That's right.
And right now, none of them are big contributors.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I mean,
so go ahead, guys. Jump in and answer his question. So,
all right.
I need patience, buying or selling patience entering year 3 of this.
I am very frustrated when a GM tells the fan to be more patient. When you look at the whole situation, and in the year 3 of any administration, the team should be on the improvement rail. Now, the Giants are unique in the fact that they started the rebuild with a good year, right? And that makes things a little bit awkward in how you assess it.
More than a little bit. It screwed everything up.
Exactly. And my biggest concern is that if the Giants have another 6-win season again, and they keep everybody back like Shane, Dable, and don't get me wrong, because I really think Dable's actually done a terrific job. Shane, I have question marks. But do I really want them getting a quarterback then in 2025? Then they get their guy. Because then I feel like you have to give them 2 years. And if they blow again in 2025, I'm going to be awfully pissed trying to support this team in 2026.
There you go. That's incredibly well said. Yep.
Yeah.
That's how I think the Giants fan should feel. So, and not for me to tell you how to feel, but if I was a fan, that's how I would feel.
I'm buying it because if he's following the Buffalo plan, again, year 1 screwed that up, right? But also, I said this earlier, I have this weird feeling that it was his way of saying, Jones really isn't our guy. He was forced on us. So give me time to build this roster, get my guy, and see what we're doing. Because I do feel they have upgraded this roster every year they've been here. They just got to develop the guys on the old line and see where it can go. So I am buying it for that reason, because I see what they're doing. I see how they're building the roster.
I almost wonder, Sean, if you want to jump into that bucket, which is a super cool bucket to jump in, because you almost want to ask yourself, you're not drafting a QB next year.
That's the problem.
They are,
Where's
but
it coming from?
Right, yeah, that's my question. Is like, who's a free agent? Who are they going to slap a bunch of money in to come in and win for them? Is it Josh Allen? Is there a trade? Like, that's my question. Like, you are building this roster. I'm wondering if he's been planning on this big opportunity the whole time.
He was planning on Drake May. His plan today is to come up with a new plan. Like, he has not had this.
His plan is to have a plan.
Ryan, we've had you on like 7 times. That's the best thing you've ever said.
He has not had this master plan of like, I don't need to pick one in 2024 because I'm going to trade for Tua. No, like his plan came and went. Now he needs a new one.
And by the way, and I don't know, there is 2 or 3 guys that'll pop in college football. They always do, right? There'll be a guy like these guys know I'm a big Jackson Dart guy from Ole Miss, right? But I don't know. Somebody in the comments could tell us. I'm sure the new plan, Ryan, is I'm gonna get some money for a free agent to come in here and win this thing for me. There's got to be somebody, got to be somebody.
Don't their books open up a lot more next year? And the cap probably
their books have been open. I mean, the idea that they had no money the first year when they actually won. They had more money. Their books open up. Their books were pretty open this year. I think I'd have to check Spot Track or over the cap. I think they spent the fourth most cash, not cap dollars. I think they spent the fourth most cash this offseason. So, like, his hands aren't cuffed like they were originally.
Yeah. Yeah. The big question is, like, is there a free agent quarterback out there for
I think Jared Goff's a free agent.
Prescott. I mean, you're going to kill me.
Dak
for saying
Prescott's
one of them.
Yeah, Dak Prescott. Yep. I mean, look, 7 years ago they would have really been screwed because quarterbacks didn't move. Brady's changed teams, Rodgers changed teams, Cousins changed teams, Stafford changed teams, guys changed teams. So, like, maybe the Bills suck this year, and Josh Allen becomes available because they want to rebuild. You know they'll go all in for him. Maybe Tua, maybe the Dolphins suck and the Tua is available. They want to start over. So, like, it's not it has become a little fantasy football where quarterbacks do move. I just don't know if, like, let's
hope one.
Herbert's not moving. Mahomes isn't moving. Lamar Jackson isn't moving.
Joe Burrow's not moving.
Joe Burrow's not moving. So, like, you're looking at a Cousins type unless it's Josh Allen.
And by the way, I wouldn't put it past them, right? That they're already thinking about that.
Well, they said it a number of times, right? Like, they interview guys because maybe somebody becomes available as a free agent. Like, he's kind of dropping hints, right? Like,
he did do that. You are 1,000% right. He said that twice yesterday.
And people got upset about it, but they didn't look at it in the terms of, man, maybe he's preparing for free agency, and this is why this is important.
Right.
And maybe they look at a guy like, who was a Hendon Hooker. Like, they interviewed him. They spent a lot of time with him.
Right.
Maybe there's guys out there, so we just don't know. Personally, Ryan, I feel like this. Like, this is a year, like everybody talked about, no excuses. Like, if Mara's really the guy pushing Daniel Jones on Shane and Daboll, right?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Just right. He may not be, but if he is, he's got a better O-line. He's got his wide receiver one. If he doesn't do well, maybe in their minds are like, all right, John, we've given him everything he needs to go, and he still can't do it. Can we move on from this guy finally?
Okay. This is not for me to pick on you. This is in general. I hate that narrative. I have reported this. I have called and texted and tweeted and written. I am not buying that for 1 second. Like, you could sell me a lot of things on the Giants. I am not buying for 1 second that John Mara was behind the Daniel Jones extension. Not for 1 second. Like, I can buy this. What else were Shane and Daboll supposed to do? Like, they had come off a winning season. Where was their quarterback supposed to be? You could tell me, like, they didn't really want him and their hands were tied and they had to get him. Like, I can buy that. I'm not buying that they didn't want him and John Mara said, you have to have him, because there is nobody that John Mara liked more in my 7 years than Saquon Barkley. Nobody that he respected more, liked everything about him, the player, the community, the charity, the way he handled the media, the accountability, loved everything about the fact that his jersey is the most popular one, making him money in the stands, and he let him walk out the door to the Eagles. So there is no chance in my mind that he said, sorry, guys, I know you don't want him. You have to have him.
Yeah.
No chance in my mind.
No, you're good. That's why I'm glad I asked it, because Mara talks all the time and makes all kinds of excuses for Jones. So it's easy to see why maybe he influenced it. And Jones called Mara during contract negotiations. So it's easy to see how you could think that way. So no, I
mean, I totally
get on me all you want, Ryan. That's good. I can handle it.
No, I mean, the whole world, like, everybody on the Giants fan base thinks that. I think it's just, honestly, look, they stink. They've stunk for 12 years. So it's easy to blame the owner for everything. Like, that's just what it is. I mean, and, like, has he been involved at times? Yeah, but his involvement is influence. I don't think it's not like dropping the hammer, like, you have to do this. Because I know that if I don't know what happened with Daniel, I know he personally loved Saquon, and I know Saquon wanted to be there. And I know Mara wanted him to be there, and he's not there. So, to me, that's Dane and Shable. Shane and Dayball.
I heard Mara
I just
generally
did a
steps in
Daniel
only-
Dones on you.
Right, you did.
I heard Mara generally steps in only if they're drafting and there's a player with a misconduct issue or a personal issue.
Even then, he let them draft Kadarius Toney.
How did they not vet him talking to him? I mean,
And DeAndre Baker.
and DeAndre Baker?
did they have a mark against them before they got drafted, though?
Probably. They do all this research on these guys.
Tony had an arrest. Yeah, Tony had a college arrest. So
That was the dumbest miss I've ever
I mean,
seen.
three of the guys they just drafted in this class were arrested in college. Three of the six were arrested in college. Neighbors had a gun on Bourbon Street.
Yep.
Dismissed, whatever.
Well, good. We've never had an incident with a Giants wide receiver with a gun in the city. Yes, go
Drew
ahead.
Phillips and 5-team and Drew. Now is it Phillips? Drew Phillips, the cornerback.
Yeah, Andrew Phillips.
Yeah. Drew Phillips and 6 of his teammates were arrested at a fraternity house. That turned out to be bogus. Charge dismissed. And I think they actually filed a counter lawsuit, the players. And then and then Theo Johnson has an arrest from a fraternity house. So 3 of their 6 guys, and Giants did their vetting, et cetera, believe it's not a big deal, not part of a broader spectrum, but call it what it is. 3 of the 6 guys were arrested at one point.
Yeah. So if Mara was doing heavy-handed stuff,
Mara was like, then I
Not-
can't.
not
see
the
what those-
case.
That's my.
I got one question before I let you go, and you guys can jump in if you have a quick final one. My final one is something that you said to me. I've been quoting you now for 4 or 5 weeks now, because again, I always, think, okay, you're there every day. You get a vibe what's going on in the building. You've got a good, insight on the team and the roster. And I can't wrap my head around something you said 4 weeks ago, because it's very true. Who's going to score for this team? I've said it. I keep saying, I keep reminding people Barkley sucks. Get rid of him. Slayton sucks. Get rid of him. Like the fans just think everybody just steps in and scores all these touchdowns. Waller. Yeah. So like, if you don't have Waller and you don't have Slayton and you don't have Barkley, like my question is, Ryan, is who is scoring touchdowns for this team? Because Hyatt is the guy I think needs to step up and become a pro, because I have no tolerance for the Giants wasted Hyatt's rookie year. I'm like, no, because the game is practice. And if he was balling out in practice, he'd get more targets in a game and get more snaps, but they're not doing that for a reason. So my question still goes back to you, is who's scoring for this team?
If I gave you a top 3 touchdown scorers for the Giants this year, I would say Neighbors 1, Singletary 2 by nature of the position, and Hyatt 3. Well, that's assuming Slayton. Slayton would be 3, and then Hyatt would be 4. I'm assuming Slayton is going to be here. I would go Neighbors 1, Singletary 2, Slayton 3 would be my guess. But
All right.
You're asking a lot of guys to have career years.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Again, great quote right there. Remember what he just said, guys. You're asking a lot of guys to have career years, because this is the track he's been on for 4 weeks. I'm still there. Back to like buying into Joe Shane selling me stuff. Dude, you didn't go for it. You didn't make the offense a top 10 offense. That's why everybody got mad at me.
And you didn't reset it with a quarterback. You just you just took a bad team and made them a little bit better.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, so I was all, up in arms with the Newbin thing. Like, dude, just get me more offense. We need offense. Our defense can always still play. It'd be great. Hey, if we have the 30th ranked offense, doesn't matter how good the defense is.
Correct.
We got to score.
The Giants offense has been bad for 5 years, going back to Jason Garrett. Or it's not a new thing. Giants fans haven't seen the modern NFL in quite some time.
Yeah. I do want to say, Ron, I have no further comments, but yeah, I am, unfortunately, and I've been criticized for being too negative on this show, but I'm not feeling very good about this year.
Give me a win total right now, guys. All 3 of you. Win total.
Las Vegas has the under the spot at 6. They're projecting the Giants to have 6 wins. I'm going to have to unfortunately agree with that.
6. What do you guys got, Sean?
I'd say the floor is between 6 to 8 is the floor.
Oh, come on. You got to give him a number. You can't give him three numbers.
Give me a number. Pick one.
All right. I'm gonna say 7 wins.
7.
All right. I'm
do you
probably
got?
going to eat. I know I'm going to eat this, but
I mean, you're not locking it in. We'll do it. We'll hop on it.
Because all right, fair enough. Because the Giants were 4 plays away from being 8 wins last year. If Gano's healthy, if Gano's on this team, they win 8 games. I'm going with 8 wins.
Okay. All right.
No delusions. No delusions. I know the defense is going to play football. I don't know where we're going to score, as you just alluded to. But again, if Gano is healthy, they have 8 wins last year, and that's with 2 backup quarterbacks.
Just be careful. I agree with the backup quarterback thing. I agree with. People forget Daniel Jones is an average quarterback. Like, they didn't have that last year. So, like, the quarterback play, as much as you want to run him off, should be much better next year. But just be careful with the 4 wins thing, because when people do that, you're giving them a win. Like, oh, they're a play away from beating Buffalo. Yeah, they're also a play away from losing to New England. If the guy makes a 32-yard field goal, then one of your wins, put in the Buffalo win, but you got to take out the New England.
Let me retract it. I'm thinking we can hang with some of these teams. I think that there's a part of the Giants that's better than people think. We know how bad they are, right? It's very easy to pick out what they do wrong, but there are some things that they do pretty well.
They should terrorize pass rushers if they can keep. And they should terrorize quarterbacks with their pass rush. If they can keep games close.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we always want to point out what they do wrong. We never really get any credit for stuff like McLeod having a great game, or just like, Andrew Thomas just being like an absolute shutdown left tackle. Like, and he would have been there all year if he wasn't getting hurt for Luke play.
I like their odds if a game is tied 17-17 after 3 quarters. Low scoring-ish, and I can have my pass rush get after you in the 4th quarter. Dexter Lawrence, Thibodeau, and Burns, I really like their odds. My thought is they might be playing from behind in a lot of those games, because I don't know how they're going to. Even if they give up 17, I think they might be down 17-7. So,
yeah. And for context, Ryan, I predicted their win total in 22. Last year, I had high expectations and got burned. So this year, I'm going under. I'm gonna.
Well, for context, the 15 of us or whatever in the media room every year we do this in August, and we pick the win total. And every single year, I'm the lowest person in the room. So I am always the pessimist. I always expect the worst from them. And I think the year they won 9 and went to the playoffs, I picked them to win 4. So don't always listen to me. Now that you've invested,
you're just not a gambling man.
Yeah. Now that you've invested an hour of your time in listening to me, don't listen to me.
We love it. Well, listen, thanks for hanging out with Ryan. I know you got the kids, you got the family ready to go. So, guys, this will be available. It'll be on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Pods, everything tomorrow. We'll get it out there to you guys. We will be back next week. I think. Do you have a grade, by the way, Ryan? Do you have a grade to put on this draft? Like, do you do that?
I did. I gave him a B-. So,
all right, Spartan, what's your draft grade here?
I would say this. I gave them again. It's very fickle. I gave them a B-. I gave them an A last year, and that was Banks, who played well, Hyatt, who I think showed flashes, and Schmitz, who was not very good. And I gave them an A afterwards. I'm still high on that draft class. I still think that class could be good. I also didn't know this, but I looked it up recently. I also gave them an A- for the Kadarius Toney draft class. So,
well, that was what Bellinger, Belton.
No, that Kadarius Toney was Gettleman. So that was.
Oh, that's right.
That was Giants 2021 draft class.
Yeah,
that was Toney. That was Toney, Aziz, who's done nothing, Aaron Robinson, who's done less than nothing, Ellerson Smith, who's not here, Gary Brightwell's done nothing, and Rodarius Smith is not here. So that's only because Aziz is still here and gets sacks. Would that be like a D- or a D class and not a straight F? So,
Schoen, what's your grade?
I gave him an A-.
Spartan?
B+. I think they got 2 good first picks.
All right. I'm just going to straight B. I'm not going minus. I'm not going plus. I'm just going B.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, there's a thing going around. I retweeted it where some guy compiles 30 people who do draft grades. My B- was on the low end for the Giants. I think most people gave him a B.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We're here 52 weeks a year, folks. We'll be here again here next Monday. We're here every Monday. Thanks for Chris, pound out for Chris for filling in for me for the first half hour of the show because I was at a lacrosse game in Ocean City, which we won, by the way, 11-8. Ryan, I'm sure we'll get you back before the season starts. You're the best, man, and we always appreciate you hanging out with us.
No problem. See you guys.
All right, Ryan. Guys, I'll see you guys next Monday. And we'll start talking about who's making this team, who's not. We'll talk about the free agents that they've just brought in, right? Because they signed a bunch of linemen today and yesterday with UDFAs, right? Undrafted free agents. So we got another things to talk about. Not Chris. Wait, Chris wasn't here at all?
No.
Oh, my bad. I thought Chris was going to jump in for me for the first half hour.
No, it's just me and Spartan. We ran it for the first half hour.
Nice job, guys. Thank you.
We got you.
Thanks for getting my back.
We would like to now announce that me and Sean are breaking off to form our own podcast group. No, I'm kidding.
If you'd like to live tomorrow, you best take that back.
Yeah, we really get out here to Chicago faster than any human in history.
Yeah, they'll be like, you're gonna see a Cadillac roll up and like Carmine and Vito come out, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, it's Spartan. We gotta talk to you. Can you come down here a bit?" And then next thing you know, you're sleeping with the fishes.
I know. The last name like Santucci, I gotta be a little careful.
No, I'm half Irish, so you're fine.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, just means I have a bad temper and I drink too much. That's all.
That's why we get along, Craig.
And look, exactly. You know what I love? And Sean, you said it the best. Is you're doing a good job if Cold makes fun of you. It says great job, Shawnee and Spartan. Craig was so.
Yeah, what grade do you give everybody for the performance tonight?
No, we don't need a grade because Cold will always say that I'm the worst and I complain about everything. Even when I rave about players, he still says I'm always angry, or they throw Wandale out there. But you know what? That's why we love these guys. They're the best.
Yeah, we need a grade from Cold and Mark at some point for the first half of the show. We definitely need that.
Yeah. Gentlemen, we will see you guys next week. Make sure you tweet this out. If you guys don't know, which I know you already do, it's Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Pods. If you're walking the dog or you're working out on the treadmill, I don't know, just chuck it on, on the earbuds and listen to us. Everything's up there. YouTube channel. Guys, here's something I could throw out your way and I'll let you guys go. I have, between us, all of us, we have 30,000, 40,000 followers, and there's some crossover, right? I appreciate you guys are the best. Everybody that's here every week is the best. We need help growing the YouTube channel, right? Like, I can't get people to subscribe to it. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if that, because you guys always follow what we do. You participate in the draft show. By the way, great job, you guys, on the draft show. Great job, Spartan. If you don't know, Spartan Mike got on Good Day America. He was on ESPN. He's hanging out with License Plate Guy. He was dapping up with neighbors. Shawnee did his first, hosting of day 2. I mean, we've done stuff like, what did we do this, guys? We did Jordan Renan. We did Foley. We did Patty Trainer. We did Ryan Dunleavy twice. Like, we're giving a lot. We hope you guys like what we do. But I still can't get enough people. So if I can ask a favor out there, wearing my heart on my sleeve, I guess, just tell a friend. Just tell a friend, a Giants fan that you hang out, watch the games with. just have them subscribe to the YouTube channel. They don't have to be dedicated as you guys are, because you guys are the best, right? Shout out Tudo, JT, Cold, a bunch of you guys in here. I'm just strolling through. Mark, I see you guys here. RB0, Tuto. Who else is in there? Oh, G-Man fan. Of course, Goofball Pots. Bunch of you guys all rolling in here. A couple of you guys left. Milan. I see you guys. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys next Monday. Hit the subscribe button, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace, guys.
Spartan was